Hi everybody, welcome in PLANÈTE PISTON. I'm really happy to see you, and we are today in Bolzano at the delightful driving garage with Elisa Artioli. Hi Elisa.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm fine. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for your time. So we are going to talk about your incredible story. Can you quickly introduce yourself, please?
Yes, so I am Elisa, and here you can see my two Elisas. And I have this special connection to this car because the car was named after me, which is quite a unique story, and I'm really proud of it.
So your story starts in 1995?
Exactly.
At the Frankfurt
Motor Show, yes.
Yeah, during the presentation of the Lotus M111,
Yes.
which will later become the Elise.
Yes.
The car is undercover, and when they reveal it, we see at the wheel a little girl who stands up with an I am Lotus Elise t-shirt.
Yes.
It was you.
Yes, it was me.
Do you remember this day?
Not so much exactly that day, but I remember that my family used to train me for the day. So at home I was living in England, they used a cover, they put me under the cover, and so I got used to stay under the cover without crying. And then I had this t-shirt that was the same that was on the cover of the Elise with I am Elise. And then when they unveiled the car, I stood up and I was looking around, and actually I already knew it was something important because I didn't want to get out of the car. I was feeling comfortable, I wasn't scared, and I was only 2.5 years old.
Can you tell us why this car has your name?
Yes, this car used to be the project M111, as you said. But my grandfather thought we need a name which is really international, because this car has also to bring back Lotus to life, let's say, with a good car which should be sold everywhere. And all Lotus started with the letter E, like Elan, Esprit, and since I was the first granddaughter that was born in '93, and the project started exactly that year, when they decided to present the car, my grandfather wanted to give the car my name, and he also decided for this presentation to present the car together with me, because it was something that was never did before, and that was actually really clever, because every journalist was surprised and they didn't know the connection. They saw this girl, but nobody knew the story, and so everybody asked, and there were a lot of press about the car, so it was actually a really good idea, because Lotus needed to be back on a good level.
And giving this name to the car was a way for him to bring luck to the car?
Yes, he thought that could bring also luck, because I was the first granddaughter, and he always wanted somebody that was into cars. So he decided, okay, she has no chance, she has to be connected to the car.
After the reveal of the car, we can see your grandfather. He is holding you in his arm, and he says a sentence to a journalist. Why Elise? Because Elisa is my great love. She was born when this car was born. That's why I am Elise.
Perché Elise? Perché Elise è il mio grande amore ed è nata quando è nata quest'auto. Questa è mia nipote Elise. Ecco perché io sono Elise.
Is it a pride for you to represent such a car?
I'm really proud to represent this car. I mean, I love this car. I cannot imagine a better car for me, and so I'm really happy that this car is named after me. It represents me a lot.
So 20 years passed before we heard from this little girl again, and in 2015 you decided to talk about your story through her Instagram account. How come this idea?
The thing was, you know, when everything happened, I was really little. Then we moved back to Italy, and I went to kindergarten, to school, but there weren't social media at the time. And after a while, people started asking on forums where did Elisa Artioli disappeared, because I wasn't around. I mean, I was just a little girl. And so for the 20th anniversary, people started to look for me, and they found my mother on Facebook, and they asked my mother if I would like join some events. Mm-hmm. And at the beginning I was like, oh no, why should I go? And I was really
scared about it?
Yes, I was scared. I was really nervous, and I didn't know what to expect. And then I thought, I mean, who wants to know me? I was just really, as I am today, but a normal person with a normal life, with this special story, but I didn't expect so much enthusiasm from the community, because I didn't know all this world. For me, it was something that I didn't meet before, and so I didn't know what to expect. And then finally I was brave enough, and I took part to the first celebration. And from that moment I just loved this community, because I felt exactly in the place where I should be, where I belong, and this changed a lot my life, because before I felt always like I have this car, but I don't know with who I can share this passion, because my friends from school didn't have a sports car, and so I was always alone, and so it was not so nice, let's say, because I didn't have people to share this. And
was it complicated to grow up as I am Lotus Elise?
Yeah, the thing is that I was really young, and I couldn't drive the car, so it wasn't really making any sense until I could drive the car. Before, of course, I had this story, but I didn't know even how the car drives, so I was, let's say, was not really into the Lotus world until I could drive the car. And then I started meeting the community, and from that moment my life definitely changed, and I felt like it was a family all the time. It doesn't matter where I went, but I felt always welcome.
So we can say that this hashtag I am Lotus Elise is opening a new path on your world.
Yes.
It changed your life?
Yes, of course, it changed my life, because where I'm today, what I do today, also the thing that I have these two cars is influenced by this story, so it changed for sure my life.
So people seem to be very interesting about your story. The community grew up, and here comes delightful driving.
Yes.
So how comes this idea of delightful driving?
So the delightful driving was an idea that I had a few years ago, because I used all the time to share my adventures, my travel, because I love to travel with my car. I love to travel by car with Elise, not with, let's say, a normal car, then it's boring. And so I used to share a lot of my adventure, my pictures, and people were like, oh, I would like to join you, you do so many nice road trips. And then I thought, okay, I will say to people where I go, and maybe somebody joins me. So I was like, hey guys, tomorrow I'm going here. Nobody joined. And I was like, why? Everybody said they want to join, but then I thought, maybe it's a bit short notice, and maybe it's not so good organized to say like tomorrow I'm going here if you want to join. And so I thought I should try to have something more organized, even if I used to travel really spontaneously, like on the way decide where to stop. So that was a bit of a challenge at the beginning to be so organized. But I did this project of delightful driving to share my passion with other people that have the same passion.
Was it complicated to set up at the beginning?
It was really complicated for me because I used to work in an architecture studio, and I had quite a bit of project, and so for me it was not easy to find the time to do all this, and I started to create something, but then I didn't have time, so I say, okay, I will see when I can do it. And then the lockdown arrived, and that was really the moment where I had the time to do the website and everything. So it was actually something, some way good that the lockdown arrived.
What do you like the most in delightful driving? Is it traveling or meeting different people?
For me, is the feeling during the event and also after, because traveling, I love traveling, but I can also do it alone. I can take my car and go alone, but I really noticed I love to show the people the place I like. For example, I like to share my favorite routes with other people, but also what I like is when we are at dinner and we all talk and we get to know each other. This is the thing I like about delightful driving, because I always can go and drive my car alone, but to share this with the community is the most important thing. And then also the feeling after the meeting, I don't know how I describe it, but I arrive at home and I smile because I think this weekend was awesome, and this is also the motivation that gives me, I mean, it's something that gives me the motivation to keep going, because the days before I'm super stressed that something could go wrong, and that part is not so nice. I'm also stressed if it's going to rain, but of course I cannot change the weather, but I feel responsible for everything.
Of course. So every time I join a tour, everything seems perfect and leaves me with good memories and plenty of good things. You, as a tour planner, how do you feel it?
Yes, as I was saying, I always try to find the best roads, let's say the best restaurants, the best hotel, but something it could be challenging. Sometimes they close the road, or there is something, or the weather. We do everything possible to make it a nice tour, but a lot comes also from the people, I noticed.
Every year you try to add new road trips. What can we expect for the next year? Yeah,
so I have, let's say, some tours which are my favorite, that are my signature tour, like the Dolomites, because I'm born here.
So very good tour.
Yes. And for me it's easy to organize the tour here because I know the roads, so even if we have to change the route, it's not a problem, and there are so many passes that you can always change it a bit. So it's always different. And then I also want to add always something new, because we have people that like to come back and see different things, but also for me it's nice to explore new places when I have time. So for next year I'm trying to organize the tour of Valpolicella, with also a little bit of a wine history. And I'm going next month to check the routes, because it's also important for me that we bring people to routes that we have checked before, and not that they are like too small or the surface is not good. And one I'm also really looking forward to is Toscana, because it's one of my favorite regions. The food is amazing and the roads are super nice. So that one also I want to do next year. And then we have some tours also in different parts of Europe, so that also people like from France or Germany, it's easier for them to join. So we have one in France, one in Germany, and I always try to do something new for the next year.
Okay, so now let's talk about your babies.
Yes.
Your cars. Start with Elle. So you have this car since a long time.
Yes, one.
Yeah. How did she join your life?
So she was a present from my grandfather. I was 4 years old. It was when the Elise was presented, after he thought I have to give one to my granddaughter because she's linked to the car, and so he ordered one for me. So that's why it's left-hand drive. Was born like that, of course, because it was for the Italian market. And I got it when I was really little, but I couldn't drive it, so it was many years in the garage.
I met people who know you well, and they all say the same thing. You are just like connected to your car, just like twin sisters. Is it, how can I say that? Can we say that this car is a part of your family?
Yes, I would say so, because I really grew up with this car. I used to see it every day. And I cannot imagine my life without it. Many people tell me, oh, can you imagine how much worth it is your car now? And I'm like, I don't know, and I don't care, because I'm not going to sell it. So, I mean, for me, it's worth more than any other car, because this is like my car.
Yeah. It's just like the reflection of your soul or something like that.
Yes, it's something I cannot buy, you know, it's something more than money, it's something, a connection to this car.
How is it to grow up with this car, without being able to drive it? Or?
Yes, it was a bit sad, of course, because I knew I had to wait a lot, and then in Italy for 1 year you cannot drive this kind of cars, so it was even longer.
So you have to wait until 19?
Yes, exactly.
It was hard, I guess.
Yes, it was indeed.
How was your first experience at the wheel of Elle?
Was not so nice, I have to be honest.
Oh, really?
Yes, because I was so nervous, and I learned to drive with a city car. A Fiat 500, and so when I switched to this car the first day, I was really shaking, you know, my hands were shaking, and I remember I wanted to exit the garage. It took me ages because I couldn't see. I felt so weird.
It's really different from the Fiat.
Yeah, exactly, from the 500 where you sit high and it's so smooth. You
have a good view on the road.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, it was honestly, it was the first moment was a shock. I didn't expect that it would have been like that. But of course, when I got used to it, I loved it that much that now I have the opposite problem. I cannot drive like city cars because they are too smooth to me, and so sometimes I like everything like gas, and my mother's like, it's not a rally car, you know. I guess, sorry.
Yeah, that's why after Lotus everything seems
too
without
smooth.
a taste.
Boring.
This car brings you many memories and sensations. Do you have a thing you will never forget with this car?
Not too many. I mean, we did a lot of things together. We did a lot of travels. We had also some, let's say, bad moments. I mean, some problem with the car, of course. Also some funny stories, but it's just a lot all together of moments.
So then comes a new car, Sunshine.
Yes, Sunshine.
So many people think that Lotus gives to you this car. It's wrong, of course.
I wish, but it's not like that. No. I had to save money to buy this car, so it was not a present from Lotus.
And Lotus even asked you why you didn't take the Alcantara pack?
Yeah, they asked me when I configured the car, they were like, oh, why didn't you took the Alcantara? And I was like, because I don't have any money anymore. And my budget was, because when they presented the final edition, it was even more expensive than before.
Yeah.
And you know, when I heard they were going to take the Elise out of production, I just started working actually, and so for me it was really difficult to save so much money in such a short time. So I just used to like save everything I could, do as little as possible, and I asked to have the last one, so I thought, okay, maybe I have some more time.
And finally, do you prefer the old generation or the new one?
I like both the same way, but different. I mean, the S1 relating to this car, I mean to Elle, it will be forever my favorite car, because for me, as I said before, I have a link to this car. But if you take away this emotional part, just the rational, I like the S1 more for how unfiltered it is. It's so direct and so pure, and you cannot find another car that it feels like this car. It's also so light, it feels super lightweight, and this is the thing I love about this car. About Sunshine, I love that it has more horsepower, because I have to admit it's nice to have some horsepower more sometimes.
It's more easy to drive, to overtake.
Yes, exactly, especially overtaking. Because with the S1, if you don't have enough visibility or space, then you have to wait a lot, because it's difficult to overtake. With Sunshine you overtake like nothing, because it always have a lot of push, and also on the racetrack is a better car.
Of course.
Yes.
So when I look at your car, I see two colors, silver and gold. Is the way for you to conclude the story of the Elise by highlighting the fact that these cars are just amazing? Yes,
exactly. I mean, the thing is that there are many reasons, let's say, why I choose the gold. I didn't choose the silver because that was the configuration of my grandfather. At the beginning, I thought I would have preferred to have a colorful Lotus, because I always think Lotus is nice because you see also the shiny color, and this one is a bit shy. But now I like it because it's a really classy color, and I think you never get bored to see this color. But for my new car, I wanted to have something more shiny, and also from the thing Sunshine, because the Elise is the sunshine in my life. I thought, okay, maybe it could be something like yellow, but I really loved the John Player Special livery. I thought, okay, I have silver, and so silver and gold, it makes sense because it's a shiny color, and I don't have to choose between the color, which actually I like a lot of colors. I like the red one, the green one, and so I couldn't choose. So I thought, I don't take a standard color, I take something different, and I'm really happy with the color.
You can, because the color is just perfect, in my opinion. So, to close this last chapter of this interview, I have some questions from the community.
Of course.
So, if you're ready to answer to them.
Yes.
Guys, it's for you. So, in Italy, when you just got your driving license, you are not allowed to drive a overpowered car like the Elise. So, what was your first car?
Yes, as I said before, I had a Fiat 500. the typical city car in Italy.
Yeah. Next question. Can you tell us a fun fact you have with your car?
Yes, okay, I remember one. I had the problem with the heating, I mean, when I went to Spain, I had the problem with the clutch, and so when it was too hot, I couldn't change gear on the S1.
Okay.
And so I used to park the car, moving it by hand. And once I went to this underground garage, and I was parking the car, like moving it by hand, pushing it, and then at some point the guys from the garage arrived because they had the cameras, and so they arrived, two guys, and were like, "Is everything okay?" I was like, "Yes."
What are you doing?
Yes, they were. I was like, I park like this because it's easier, because I didn't want to say my car is like half broken. And so they were like, "Do you need help?" I was like, "No, don't worry, I do it every day." So they thought, I think maybe they kept the video of me pushing the car. I don't know.
And finally you found something to repair it?
Yes, I brought it to France, to Marque, and they repair it.
Okay. So after, what is your job?
My job? Well, it's difficult. I have so many jobs. So actually I am an architect.
Yeah.
But I was missing the car world in my life. I have tried to find my way in this world. I tried car design, but was not for me. And so now I work for a club of classic cars, and I work, let's say, I founded Delightful Driving, which is my hobby and, let's say, second job. And of course, sometimes I do a lot of things I don't even know exactly my job. It's like
Isn't
everything.
it complicated to mix your passion and your job at the same time? Because it takes a lot of time.
Yes, well, honestly, it is time consuming. I invest a lot of time, and sometimes if you think about the money aspect, honestly, it's not really worth it if I should see how much I work. But since I like what I do, I don't feel like I'm working. So that's for me important, because every day I sit at my computer and I think what I can do also to improve, and I always think about this. And for me, it's a good motivation to have an own project, because I can invest my energy in this, and I know I do something I'm proud of, and I'm happy to do that. So it doesn't feel, I never get bored of this, while before, when I was working in the architecture studio, sometimes I was thinking like, oh, I wish the weekend comes soon so I can go out with my car. And now I don't have this feeling, because I like what I do. So that is something important.
Yeah, of course. So next question. What kind of music do you listen?
It's difficult. I like a lot of music. It depends also, because sometimes if I'm a bit tired, longer trips, then I try to listen to music that keeps me a bit awake. But I like a lot the music of the 80s, for example, or another one is like Phil Collins. So also I am not a big fan of the music of nowadays. I think it sounds more or less always the same.
I think you are right.
How many languages do you speak?
So I speak Italian and German, and then let's say English, and I used to speak Spanish because I spent 6 months in Madrid, but now I'm not speaking Spanish since many years, so it will be a bit difficult. Yes, I know at school I had French, but I never used it. Yeah, so I forgot everything. And so I think it's, I speak three.
I think you will love the next question. Yeah. You say something in French.
I can say, je m'appelle Elisa, and c'est la galère.
Very good.
I remember that from school, I was like, what?
Okay, so now, can you list 3 essential things to take on a road trip?
Yes, I have always, for sure, my sunscreen, which I never use. It's really important.
You forget to use it?
Yes, exactly. I always bring it and then I never use it. Yeah, makes sense.
That's a concept.
Yeah, every time. No, I put it later because then my hands are dirty, and since I have the leather steering wheel, then I don't want it to start to be slippery. And when we do the brake, yes, and then I forgot, and that in the evening I'm like shining red.
I think you're not the only one.
No, exactly. But I always have it just in case somebody else needs it. And then I have sunglasses, and of course I think something really important are good vibes.
Okay. So, what is your daily car? It's not the Elise, right?
No, I don't have a daily car because Bolzano is a really small hometown, and I work only 10 minutes from where I live, and therefore I use either the bicycle or my Vespa. Yes. I have my Vespa since I was 16, so it's quite an old, it looks so modern, but it has also some miles on it every day.
That's very good for cities.
Yes.
Do you work on your car yourself?
So let's say I would like to work on my car myself, but I'm not that expert. During the lockdown, also because I didn't had so much to do, I liked to come here to the garage and work on the So I did a few things which were, let's say, easy. And I published also the video on my YouTube. So you can see what I did, but usually I bring them to the service because since I use the car also for work, for me it's important that the car works well. And like last time I was working on the car, I didn't put the manifold so good back on, and then it was leaking, and so, you know, I thought, okay, maybe it was better if I didn't do that because then I had, let's say, a problem and I had to bring the car to the mechanic, and so I don't work on the car.
To end, the last question is mine. I noticed that you often end your article from Delightful Driving with a sentence I really like, which is, we start as a group of petrol heads and we end up as friends. Does that mean that the Lotus community is by far the best?
Yes, well, there is a little mistake. I mean, Delightful Driving is open to everybody.
Yeah.
It's not only for Lotus, but I love the Lotus community. I noticed that there are also many other people that maybe don't have a Lotus, but they would like to have one. Maybe they couldn't afford it yet, or they have the same spirit. And therefore I decided to open it up for everybody, but with this spirit of lightweight cars, of driving together, and this community is the best one. I always really happy to meet all the people that join these tours, because everybody is nice and like-minded. Nobody is a snob or whatever, easygoing people, you know, that are into cars.
Yeah, so you heard it. If you have a Lotus or not, you can join a trip for Delightful Driving.
Yes, do it. I wait for you.
So, I think we have finished with all these questions. Elisa, thanks a lot.
Thank you for coming here.
Yeah, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to Elisa's channel and check out at the Delightful Driving website to join for next tour.
Delightful driving.
I hope to see you soon for a tour, probably.
Yes.
And once again, thank you. Guys, see you later and take care of you. Bye. I'm a bit stressed.
No worries.
Talking English. Okay. And I will remain this sentence.
Shall I go there?
Good.
We have it.
Yeah.